Hi, folks. Thanks for joining again this month for our quick Microsoft tips and tricks. My name is Gar Whaley. I'm the co-founder and CRO of Teal. With me, I have the very handsome Reed Johnston. He is our
Hello.
CIO and also my partner. So, Reed, today we're talking about Microsoft 365 tips and tricks again. I
Yep.
think where we decided is to start up where we left off last month because we didn't get to everything. Is that right?
Yep, that's right. We're going to
Fantastic.
start off talking about some searching. Should we get going?
Yeah. Once you share your screen, we'll get going.
All right, cool. So can you see my screen? Yep, there we go. So I like to start off with kind of the home, office.com. That's a great starting point. So when we talk about searching, there's lots of different ways that you can search for your files. So the first one really is right at the top. There's a search bar at the top of every Office app that lets you find files. So I'm gonna search overwhelmed. We're doing this thing for co-managed IT, talking about is your IT team overwhelmed. So here's a document in one of our document libraries. I did a search. It searched through all of SharePoint to find it. So that's one way. What do you think of that?
Um, I like it, but that's not the one I use. So
What's the one you use?
I just learned something. I just learned something new.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's one way. So the other way, and I think this is what you use, you hit the start button, right?
Yep,
And
that is the first way. This is the first way I always search.
yeah, I prefer using the web app because it's already searching the cloud. When you're using the search button, it relies on your account to be signed in, it relies on OneDrive. But again, here I can search overwhelmed and it's going to look through my system. It's going to look through um, files that I have access to. I can filter on, work files. I can filter on file, like here it's searching the web. It's finding documents in our marketing share. I can click on it right here and it's going to open that same document in my browser.
Yeah. So Reed, that's a great point. And maybe part of my challenged hair follicles causes me stress because what you just said is that when you use that methodology, when you click on the start button and search, it's really only going to search things that are local, right? So you'd have to have your sync set up to
Yep.
OneDrive and SharePoint versus a file that maybe you shared with me that I don't, it's in a folder on SharePoint or OneDrive that I don't sync, it's not going to find that, right?
Yep.
So I actually have learned something here today. I should start with the way you recommended, not with the start find. And oddly enough, we're not going to segue yet, but that's what we want to talk about next is how to sync things. So I think there's or
Yeah.
is that a good segue? Was there another search methodology that you were going to show?
Well, that's a good segue because some of these other things we'll just see naturally as we're using the different apps. So yeah, the next place that we should really jump to is I've got this document open, but like where is it? Where is it in my system? Somebody sent me a link, I clicked it, I opened it. Well, the best way that you can find where this document is, you go right up to the top where the name of the document is, you can click that and it's going to tell you, okay, this is in the marketing team in the checklists folder. So now if I click on that link to checklists, it's going to take me right into the SharePoint site where this document and a bunch of other documents are. So that's really useful for like figuring out where something is that I'm looking at.
I
Uh,
use this all the time just because of the way my personality is. I want to be able to get things directly and not necessarily search for them.
yep.
Might have something to do with my advanced age. I understand that. But other people just like to search for them. But Reed, real quick, if you could just go back to that document
Yeah.
because I wasn't clear. There you go. Just move your mouse a little bit so we can all see that. Perfect. Yeah, that's very, very helpful.
Yep. And I'll go right into the folder, or I can go into the marketing folder above it. We'll talk about version history maybe at another one of these because that's useful too. But so here I am, I'm in that checklists folder. And one thing that we often want to do is sync these cloud locations to our machine so that we can get to these files faster and easier without having to click around through the web. So here I'm in this checklists folder. Maybe I want to bring this down to my machine to make it easier. There's a sync button right at the top of any SharePoint folder, any SharePoint library. I can click sync and it's going to tell me that it wants to open up OneDrive on my machine. So I'm just going to say always allow and open. And now what it's doing is it's building this connection to this checklists folder in my Windows Explorer, which is what we're used to opening files from when we're using a legacy server like an S drive or a shared drive from a server. So if I open my Windows Explorer now, I'm going to do this here on my screen. Click close. Open my Windows Explorer. This is going to take a second. For some reason, it's slow. Go figure. So when I scroll down here, you're going to see I've got a bunch of folders that I have synced, but there will be a marketing document folder here that I've synced from before. And pretty soon I should see that checklists folder pop up too. But what we're looking at here is this is the same place that I'm looking at in my browser here. Documents, copywriting, checklists. If I go back to that marketing folder, I'll have a copywriting, and I open that up. I don't know why it's going so slow.
It's
And
likely still syncing.
checklists. Yeah, it's probably still trying to sync it in the background. But the neat part about this is now I have access to all these files through Windows Explorer and through any app on my computer. I don't have to go to the web. And you'll see all these little cloud icons next to these folders. That just means that it lives in the cloud. It's not on my system. I just have a shortcut to it. And then ultimately, I can go into this checklists folder and find that same document that I was looking at here. Is your IT team overwhelmed? So it's in the cloud. You see, here's a couple of other items that I've already opened. They have a little green check mark, which means they were synced down to my machine. So I could double click this file and it's going to open it in the desktop version of Word on my machine. I could also right click it and open it in the online version of Word. So it's just
Couple things, Reed, if you just want to stay on that screen real quick. In versioning, we may have to not get to everything today and maybe look at versioning because it's so integral to this. But just to go back to that screen,
yep.
a lot of folks, I want to make 2 points here. A lot of folks that are our clients and ourselves, we work on laptops. So frequently I want to keep things locally. So I do not need an internet connection. For example, we're about to fly down to IT Nation next week. So
Yep.
when I'm on the plane, I don't have to connect. So if you could show how to keep them locally.
Yeah, so you can right click any file that has that cloud icon or that check mark, and you can click always keep on this device. So what that's going to do now is that little check mark is going to fill, it's going to turn bright green. That means that this device, this file actually lives on my machine. So I don't need an internet connection to access it. All these other files that have a cloud, I do. I need to be on the internet to get to these files. You can do this with a folder as well. You just right click the folder and you click always keep on this device. And it's going to pull down all of the files that are in that folder. So you want to be careful when you do this that you don't try to sync a huge folder that's got gigs and gigs and gigs of video. It's going to take forever. But this is
Right.
really useful for if you're, riding on the plane and you don't have Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Or you're in Starbucks and you don't want to connect to their Wi-Fi, or you're in West Virginia skiing and there's no Wi-Fi up there. Another point I wanted to make, and this is live without a net, as always. So I want to be very clear about how I say this and articulate it correctly. Since I sort of am always speaking to prospects, um, in SharePoint, folks, again, maybe an advanced age like myself that come from a file server world and an M directory for marketing and an F directory for finance, etc. They're used to seeing things, and I am used to seeing things in this format, right? And it looks like a file server. So
Yep.
when people first hear about SharePoint, they think you have to search for everything the way you showed and go to the online version. but it's the best of both worlds because there's multiple ways to do things, and you can still do it the old-fashioned file server looking way, for lack of a better way to say that,
Yep.
and operate in the same methodology. The third point, a little extra credit point for me, Reed, is that we always recommend to our clients, to ourselves, to our fathers and mothers, is you need to back up your cloud environment, Office 365, with a third party backup utility. Don't just assume that Microsoft's going to be there. Likely they are, but you might have a user that deletes a file or a folder or an email or a SharePoint site, and you need that backed up. So, just a little extra credit there for me. So, the other thing that we wanted to show today, Reed, and maybe we're only 10 minutes in, so we still have about 10 minutes, is the alert me function on
Yeah.
files or directories changing, which is I found very useful, especially in the day of collaborative working. So you, Jill, Don, and I are working on a specific file right now, and I want to know when somebody changes it.
Is that why you send me a message as soon as I change something? Because you get into it right away.
I know that you've made a change, yes. So let's show that.
All right.
And
So
then let's quickly talk about versioning because it's really powerful. And I use it, well, fortunately, I don't use it a lot, but I use it, once a month.
sure. So when we talk about getting an alert, we mean when a file or a folder is updated. So the way that you can be aware of that is you just right click on any file and it's going to bring up this context menu. And one of the options here is alert me. So if I click on alert me, it'll give me some different options. So it can send me an email. I can customize what I want the title of the alert to be. I can say, email it to me, send me a text message. If that's enabled in your environment, we have a security policy blocking that. But the important thing is alert me when anything changes, alert me when someone changes a document, maybe in this folder or something created by me or something that I last modified. You don't want to have alert overload, so you can pick alert me immediately or send a daily summary or a weekly summary. That way you're not getting pinged by emails all the time when files are getting updated. So in this case, I clicked on a particular file. So I'm only going to get a notification when this file is modified. But instead, if I want a notification on this, maybe this cybersecurity posture folder, I can right click the folder and click alert me on that folder as well. So it's the same concept. You can be alerted on a file or a folder.
Fantastic. And just real quick, show versioning and how we might use that.
Yeah. So versioning, that's another right click, and then you go into version history. So this is like the online previous versions or previous copies of a file. Versions are not backups, right? It's just a previous copy of something. So we still want
That's
to
a
do
very
that.
important point.
Yeah, we still want to do that offsite backup, but the version, and here I picked a file that doesn't have a lot of versions. Maybe I can pick another one and get lucky. Same thing, not a lot of changes on these files. But if somebody went in and made changes to these files, I could go back and see the previous versions and actually open the previous version or revert the file to a previous version. So this is really useful as a kind of a self-serve method.
So if there were, if that you would see, if you go back to that, you would see multiple versions there, not just the one version.
Yep.
And where I find this personally, where I use this the most is actually on spreadsheets, right? When I'm building up spreadsheets, I want to see, hey, what did I do yesterday? Or I want to see because it will say that Reed made the change, right? We might be working
Yeah.
on a spreadsheet together. But that's generally where I use versioning the most. What was that formula? How was this formula constructed yesterday to get this price or this cost? I want to go back and see what we did 3 weeks ago. So it's very helpful in that way.
Yeah.
All right, so got a few minutes left here. Let's sort of switch gears a little bit to Outlook, and this is one we didn't get to last time, and we're talking about undo for how to undo sending emails.
Yeah.
I use this
So
every day.
yeah. So if you're kind of like Gar or like me, maybe you hit send too fast on an email because you got to get that idea out. So the way that you can delay sending messages, you're going to go up to your settings. So I'm in Outlook on the web right now. Go up to your settings. It's going to open up the settings menu. You want to click on compose and reply, and you'll scroll down here to the bottom. There's an undo send feature. So the default is off, but you can drag this up to 10 seconds. And what that will do is show a little undo button at the bottom of your screen. So I'm going to hit save, save that. It should go away here in a second. There we go. I'm going to compose a new message. So I'm going to say, Gar, happy birthday, right? I'm going to hit send. Right at the bottom, I've got an undo button. And if I click that within 10 seconds, it will undo that send. It hasn't sent it yet. So I can go in and fix it and say tomorrow or something. I get the date wrong.
To me, this should be turned on by default. Um,
Good,
because
good.
sometimes I have fat fingers. My daughter calls them sausage fingers, but I fat finger the enter key and I wasn't ready to send it. Or as it's going out, I realize there's a word misspelled or something, so I hit
Yep,
unsend. So
yep.
um, we're coming up on time here, Reed. I'm going to start something new with these monthly Microsoft 365 tips and tricks, and it's going to be something called Stump Reed. Um, so Reed, obviously, if you cannot do this because of privacy issues, let me know. But one of the fun ones I wanted to close out today with was what we were working on yesterday, and that is, I'm sorry, uh, uh, schedule with Copilot, changing
Okay,
thoughts, live without a net. Let's do that first, and then I'll do the stump one if we
sure.
have time.
So yeah, so you need to have a Copilot for Microsoft 365 license to do this. But here I've got an email from you where you forwarded me some information about an event coming up. And maybe I want to set up a meeting with you to talk about this event. So I can click on that message, and at the top of my screen, I've got a schedule with Copilot button. The neat part about this is Copilot is going to read the content of that message, and it's going to suggest a meeting agenda for us to talk about based on the content of the email message. Now, this could be a long email thread. It's going to summarize it for me, and it's going to attach a copy of it to the meeting invite. And then I can click insert. I've got all that information now in my meeting invite, and it's going to let me suggest times when GAR is available. I can click find a time. It's going to give me some suggestions, and then I can hit send. Now I've sent him this meeting invite about this message. It's been summarized, and it's a copy of the message is attached. So that's pretty cool.
So Reed, just to be clear, for the use case of that, you have to have the Copilot license turned on.
You got to have the Copilot license. Yep.
And we have it turned on. I use it every day, all day, Copilot in so many different ways, which we've talked about on previous episodes and we will continue to talk about. But the real power to that is not necessarily two people meetings. It's when you have five or six people that you have to coordinate. It's just much easier to let the AI Copilot do it. All right, so Reed, we have 2 minutes. Again, if there's privacy concerns and you can't do it, feel free to say we'll figure it out how to do it next time. But that is um, company-based icons for Teams chats.
Okay, yeah.
Now
So
I have added one that is from a privacy perspective. It's just our logo. So if you want to
yeah.
show how we add that.
Okay, so I'm gonna move my Teams over here. I'm in Teams. I've got a new chat message opened up. You know, you can type in what you want to type in a message, but a lot of us start using these emojis to help kind of convey what we're talking about, right? So you can have a laughing emoji. You can have Microsoft has this entire sort of library of different emojis, but a feature that they turned on is you can create your own emojis. So in the lower right-hand corner here, there's a your organization's emoji button. You can click on that and you can see we've created some for our organization. There's a picture of me. There's some other ones here.
I think if you type in teal, you might find the one I shared.
Yeah,
which is just our logo icon.
let's do a search. Teal. It's not showing me. Now it
Well,
may be my
maybe I kept
team's.
it from you, but
Yeah, you might have. But the point is you can create your own. Go down here into your org's emojis. You can add a custom emoji and basically turn any picture that you have in your environment into your own little emoji, like I did there the other day with a picture of my face. So that's the quick little tip for you.
fantastic. That was a fun one to read, and we didn't stump you. So, stump the read, you're 1 for 1.
All
Folks, it's
right.
been 20 minutes. We guarantee these things are 20 minutes or less. Reed, thanks so much for your time. We'll see you back here next month. Everyone have a great weekend and great week.
Thanks a lot. See you then.
Thanks. Bye bye.